Chapter 3 starts with a little bit of a discussion about something that really doesn't deal with content as much as the process. And one of the things that changes when we get to chapter 3 and level 3 specifically, it talks about the concept of failure. And failure is given a bad reputation in our culture and our society. And a lot of times, especially now, students go through high school and they get good grades and they make 100% and all A's, and they come to college and things are a little more difficult, and now they feel like they failed because they didn't make an A on every assignment. And there are two things wrong with that. One, not making an A doesn't mean you failed. And two, failure is not always a bad thing. And some of the quotes at the beginning of chapter 3 capture that idea, I think, or the point behind that idea. I really like Michael Jordan's quote because it has so much detail. He says, "I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I have been counted on to take the game-winning shot and failed. I have failed over and over and over in my life, and that's why I succeed." I like the way Malcolm Forbes and Henry Ford captured different nuances of the same thought in these two quotes. Malcolm Forbes says, "Failure is success if we learn from it." And Henry Ford captures that when he says, "Failure is simply the opportunity to begin again, this time more intelligently." Why? Because you learned from the failure. That's what makes you more intelligent. I like a quote that's not in your book, but it kind of talks about the extent of failure. Bobby Kennedy said, "Only those who have dared to fail greatly can ever achieve greatly." So the bigger your failure, sometimes the more you learn from it. And we tend to think of failure, and big failure especially, as a bad thing. The summary on the next page: to fail, learn from the experience, and grow because of it is failure at its best. Failure is the key to human innovation and the foundation of learning. It's that important. Failures are not lost efforts. They define the parameters of success. So you know what success is if you know what failure is. And so it helps you understand your context and your situation. I liked a quote, a book, The Gift of Failure by Jessica Lahey. And it's written probably more to parents than students. And one quote that I had marked that I think was especially important. She says, "The setbacks, mistakes, miscalculations, and failures that we have shoved out of our children's way are the very experiences that teach them how to be resourceful, persistent, innovative, and resilient citizens of the world." In levels 1 and 2, the tasks are very simple. And I know the way I teach, if you don't do something, I push you to do that. If you're not loud enough, I ask you to speak up. If you don't say your name, I ask your name. If you're introducing someone else and don't say their name, I will say, "And this is," to prompt you to do the things that are required in levels 1 and 2. I stopped doing that myself in level 3 quite so much, and I let you come up with something less than a perfect score. That's okay. So as you get over to the level 3 speech and you're doing your 3A speech and it's worth 15 points, if you forget to do your specific purpose and central idea statement, and we're going to talk about those next, you get 2 points that you've missed on your outline. So you've made 13 out of 15. In your outline, I give that back to you. You go back to your desk and you fix that and bring it back to me to get those points. It might be that you that you put an attention getter in your outline, but forgot to say it. You skipped over it and started on speech or on point number 1. So you didn't get credit for using opening your speech with an attention getter. you can fix that on your outline, maybe highlight it so you don't forget it. Come back and do that speech again to get that 1 point. Now you might decide, I can live without that 1 point this time, but I'm going to learn from this, and on my next outline for 3B, I'm going to highlight that attention getter to make sure I don't lose that point the next time. So you can learn from it, revise and repeat, or you can learn from it, make better the next time, and move forward. That's your choice there. The other thing that will happen at level 3 is the speeches will start to spread out. Some people are still doing their 2C speech because those speeches were so long we couldn't get them all in one class period. And so now somebody's doing their 2C, but somebody that did it last week wants to do their 3A. And later on, somebody's doing 3A, and somebody's doing 3B, and somebody's wanting to move on to 4. That's okay. Your next speech is always your next speech. You need to do them all, do them in order, learn from the experience, build on that, and move on to the next speech, if you're ready. If you're not ready, revise, repeat, learn what you need to know, then move on. But always move on in order. So if somebody else is doing 3C, and you still haven't done 3A, you need to do 3A. You don't need to ask me which speech to do. Do the one that's next in your book. And that's the beginning of chapter 3. We'll next talk about specific purpose and central idea.